topics and different communities. And in particular, today I've been asked to present the work that I've been covering regarding Industry 4.0 for the built environment. And this has been a project that has been going on for the past 2 years. And finally, the book has been published at the beginning of this year, together with other co-author, that is Rui Gavina and Professor Diogo Ribeiro, and that probably some of you already know. Something about the book as a project. So we have 55 different industry and academic experts, both from academia and industry. And you can see here from different countries. Also, Marzia has been collaborating with us. Why we started to this project about Industry 4.0? First of all, because in the industry still there is not much regarding the topic, and the main reference, they focus on the technologies and the hard skills, but not on the soft skills, that we know that we work with people, how we can really embrace the automation and the industrialization of our sector. And we wanted also, some of the books sometimes is also just focus on the academic work, and we wanted to combine the two together. And how that is divided, there are 28 chapters, and there is a part on the technology, the concept and the methodologies, and then the soft skills. That is something that is really difficult to find in other let's say, publication on how to, for example, to be a digital leader, how to communicate, how to lead the teams in a digital era. So these are also topics that we wanted to investigate. I think that most of us, we know about the different industrial revolution. We've been studies in the schools, and you know, starting with the steam power and how this change the way that we deliver our project and the way that we work and we live, to then the electric power, and then to the computer, and now what is called Industry 4.0. But actually, by the way, there is not a common definition, similar with the digital twin that we are starting to, there is that we need standards in order to find a common understanding. So it is a topic that started in Germany, probably some of you know, in 2010, and then it's been used in the construction just 4 years actually later, again by the German Research Institute. Because in order to understand how AI and the sensor that are key part of the digital twin are really changing the way that we deliver our work. By the way, some of you probably started your career in the construction sector using the pens, and then you move to the computer, and now there is this next part. So this is really happening quite quickly, the transition. So that is why we know that we need to be flexible. By the way, we didn't get still a definition of Industry 4.0, and recently also has been published a work from the European Union on Industry 5.0. Okay, of course, you know, there can be different opinions on this. You know, do we need really Industry 4.0 or not? But what is important is that in this publication in particular, what was really key is to make human-centric. And I think that is the reason why also we are speaking about ethics and privacy, because it's so important. I'm really glad that today, this morning, there was also a workshop on that, because we don't need to have data-centric community or societies or companies, but it's important to put the human at the center. And this report also was putting the emphasis on the sustainability, you know, how we can create a sustainable society, and also how to be resilient. So just I want to mention also that this is some concepts that are emerging. And of course, we are also creating some gaps, because we are speaking about digital twins, but we need to remember that this 17% of the world, it is almost 1.3 billion of people still don't have electricity. So still they didn't finalize actually the second revolution, industrial revolution, and also, you know, more than half of the world, they don't have internet access. So when we speak about digital twins, you know, to which part of the world we are considering, and how really we can fill those gaps, okay? Because we don't want to, you know, create increase, let's say, the differences and gaps that we have. So I think that is also important, that when we need to take it into account when we speak about this new revolution and the digital twin in general. Just some data regarding how the different industrial revolution has been changed, the different in this case equipment. So with the first industrial revolution, 100% of the equipment has been replaced. With the second, almost most of the equipments and tools were kept the same. And instead, with the third industrial revolution, almost 80–90%, we had really to change the tools and equipment. And what we're speaking now instead is something that those applications can be somehow integrated with what we have already. So there is also partial, but of course we need to work on the interoperability. That is a big topic that also we as a community are discussing. Here, how the different revolution has been impacting the construction sector in particular. And I just want to focus mainly on the mass production piece, and how we are introducing also with the CAD solution to then building information modeling and manufacturing, and also CNC methods in the third industrial revolution. So this information, of course, you can find in more detail on the book, in particular on the first chapter that we also co-author with also Ignazi. And now, how which is opening up with the fourth industrial revolution, in particular for the built environment, which is called Construction 4.0, how building information together with IoT, big data, artificial intelligence, but also lean management can really change the way that we deliver our projects. This is what we created. That is a key part of the framework of the book. And you can see that there are a technology layer, a concept and methodology, and the soft skills, because really we cannot just speak about Industry 4.0, just focus on the technology and the concept and methodology. But as I said at the beginning, it's really important to consider also the communication, digital leadership, management, relationship, and professional impact. So in the book, you will find, let's say, the key concepts that are related to each of those. Of course, let's say the line between the technology and concept and methodology sometimes is really blurred, because there is not a particularly, mark line between those. But what we identified with technologies, in particular, including also the digital twin, the extended reality, the gamification, the use of a serious game, for example, they are capture that are maybe more common, but also emerging ones such as the blockchain and the cybersecurity, together with the robots and the computational manufacturing. What we have as a concept and methodologies instead is wider. And we included also topics such as legal, because you cannot really industrialize the construction sector if you don't change your contracts. So that is something a legal expert specializing in digital AI has been also written a chapter focused on those topics to help also the lawyer in order to change this, because I think that most of you have experienced that you want to implement new technologies, and then the first thing that you check the contract, say, oh, but it was not included, and then stop everything. So, you need to start with the basics, and sometimes, contracts are the starting point. As well as, I think another really interesting chapter is the one of the business models, how we, the way that we deliver but how we can also change the business models. That is very, very interesting. And we found example for example, with Catera, that wanted to revolutionize the way that they deliver, and the difficulties still that we have to change that. And then you can see others. I don't want to go through all of them, but of course the sustainability, information visualization, link data, that I think that the representation also later on, the ontology is a very important topic. Agile management, quality management, but also lean, health and safety, quality, big data, also the GIS, and now GIS is also linked with BIM, for example, but the computational design and so on. So because I think that currently we find very good application, but just in pockets, okay? And the challenge is how we can bring all those aspects together. And yeah, as I mentioned regarding the soft skills, I think that is one of the key of the key aspect, and how we, as I said, communicate with each other. So how we can create also environments where people feel safe to fail, because one of the biggest problems when we introduce this is people, they are feared to, you know, to lose their power or their control. So I think that is really important, how we create in our companies and organization for our clients, how we embrace the change management. I think that most of us, we experience this. The solution most of the time is already there, but why it takes so long is, you know, we discuss it, is most of the time is a people problem. And so in this part, you will see how to engage with others and to have a professional impact and so on. This is then linking what is Industry 1.0 is really to link the digital with the physical, with this connectivity layer. That of course the let's say digital twin is of course supporting this as a supporting field, and then you can see the different enabler that we cover, what we covered before, because I think that especially from a strategic point of view, I gave us a similar presentation at CEO level, and they are quite interesting to understand different components to have this high level strategy. We also to understand where to invest in order to have this. So also how to reskill and upskill the workforce. That is something that also we've been discussing a lot with Ignazi and the other colleagues that have been working on this project. I think that is a big topic, and the different, especially senior management, they are quite keen to work on this and understanding which are the key aspects to take into account. I want to close my presentation also explaining the importance of the new roles that are emerging. I think that when I started my career, probably this BIM topic was still not there, and now we see emerging jobs role, for example, the drones pilots. So that is the challenge, how the organizations can really understand the possibilities that are there, the workflows, and not to have this linear path. So probably also us that you are speaking about digital twin, which are the emerging roles, and I think probably you're already familiar with this report that in particular has been created in the UK, where actually is about the different roles that are emerging. For example, the data steward, the data regulator, but also the ontologist, specialized in the construction sector, the national digital twin architects, so not just at company level, but also at country level, or in this case at European level. You know, you need to have people that are responsible. So it's open up, of course, to opportunities, but then the big question is that how we training those people, what is doing academia or the other, you know, how to find people that have the right skills to solve this challenge. Also the data custodian, data producer, data leader. And then in this report, you even find even more job roles that are emerging with their different profiles and how they needed to work together and to collaborate. I think that is really important. You know, at European level, at CEN, we created actually based on the work that we did in Italy with the standard, the different BIM profiles, and now we are leading this work and working together at European level regarding BIM profiles, how we can find you know, an agreement, and probably also with the digital twin, we need to work on the same direction and to find these alignments. So that is what I wanted to put. Of course, is a little bit high level, but that is the main things, you know, to have this wider overview and to understand the different trends and which are the key points. So we need, of course, to reskill and upskills. So we need probably us as a community to say how we do that, because we can speak about digital twin for a long time, but it's just the people that are in this room that we cannot really change the industry. So how we can create the workforce that will be ready to lead the application, both on the doers, but also on the policymakers and people that are covering the strategic point, and then the hard skill and the soft skills to have those linked together. And then the key point really to start small and to standardize before we digitalize. So in the UK, there's been this, probably, you know, this interesting study that has been done comparing the different requirements across all the different governmental agencies, and they found out 104 different ways to call the space toilet. So you can imagine, sometimes it was restrooms, sometimes PC, sometimes with documentation, sometimes not. And how we can digitalize a system that actually is so diverse and is not standardized at all. So is the reason why we are working also on standardization at European level in order to find common standard. And people, sometimes they find boring the standard, but also the internet is based on common language and standards. So I think that is very important. So that is everything from myself. So thank you for the invitation, and I'm happy to answer questions also later on. So thank you.